Joe, the Big 12 Media Days were this week, and there were some big headlines that are coming out of the Big 12, none bigger than Commissioner Brett Yormark's comments in reference to the Big 12, saying that he does believe that a pair of Big 12 teams are going to make it to the playoff this year. He did double down on the 5+11 model. He also made no coaches poll or media poll this year, saying that we are going to do things different. Joe, your thoughts overall on Brett Yormark's comments here coming out of Big 12 Media Days?
I thought what you said earlier really resonated with my feelings on this. I don't understand why there is this desire by Yormark to try and compare himself and claim that they're in striking distance of getting even with the SEC and the Big Ten, because that is what he is doing. Mm-hmm. He is trying to prove and say, hey, our conference has the best depth out of any conference. He is trying to compare himself and say that they are at the same level of the Big Ten and the SEC. You do not make a statement like this if you're not trying to make that comparison. I wish the Big 12 would understand that they have a very unique model. They have a very unique structure. His argument that they have depth is completely wrong. What they have is the best parity. Last season, we didn't know who was going to represent the Big 12 until the Big 12 championship game, and the weeks leading up to it, it was utter chaos. And while they didn't have the best representative, the chaos created a ton of entertainment. We had the late games like the Colorado-Baylor one. Colorado-Kansas State was amazing. Arizona had a bunch of barn burners. BYU had a bunch of state. Yeah, there were so many teams in the mix, and they were winning by so many late margins. That, to me, needs to be the selling point. And trying to argue that you have depth is the wrong argument to make, Blake. The argument to sit here and make for the Big 12 and why people should be invested is that you're the most entertaining, chaotic conference in a sport where there's fans across the country that love the chaos. Stop trying to be the SEC in the Big Ten. You're not them. You're uniquely entertaining for your own reasons. That is why I'm really annoyed by these comments by Yormark. But I give him credit. I mean, I give him a little bit of credit for having the balls to, take the shot that he is. But I just can't get on board with it.
To elaborate what you said, like, hey, what you said earlier is how I feel about it. So I'm just going to repeat it for argument's sake in case people didn't hear it. Stop acting like you need to be sitting at the big kids table. This isn't Thanksgiving. You're not around your cousins. You're not, your big cousin that you want to be sitting next to in Thanksgiving's not here. This is the real world. This, like, realistic real world. Joe, I do think that there's a couple of things that happened here. I think that there was a false sense of hope created when Arizona State almost knocked off Texas. Fully believe that. Because Texas played up and down and leveled their opponent all year. Last year, I mean, hey, sounds good. Is Vandy closer to winning the SEC now that they lost by 3 to Texas? Is that team, Joe, we have seen teams. I mean, this is not a shot. I really mean this. We've seen teams like Vandy upset Alabama, almost upset Texas. We saw freaking NIU clip a national title contender, right? We saw, and I'll do one for LSU. We saw LSU lose to Troy, and then the next week beat the SEC East champs. Sometimes that happens. I'm not taking a shot when I say that.
Okay.
You're not there. Just because Arizona State did what they did a season ago, you are not there. I'm not saying that they can't get multiple Big 12 teams into the playoff. Anything can happen. 2 teams can go on a magical run, and they get in there. Anything can happen. But, Joe, it also comes down to the fact of when you start acting and saying that you need to be sitting at the big kids table and you keep talking like that, the people who want the Big 12 and everybody to do well kind of don't want you to do well anymore. Like, hey, bud, just because you're the poorest rich kid at the table doesn't mean that you deserve to be in the upper echelon with us either. The SEC and the Big Ten are what they are for a reason, because they have the best teams and the best conferences and what they do. Joe, they can get 2 teams in, But don't you dare come in here and don't you dare go out in the public and tell me that you're the deepest conference in the country when you're getting 2 of your teams in. That doesn't make you the deepest conference in the country. The deepest conferences in the country, the both of them, had multiple teams that were in the playoffs, and we argued that maybe the SEC should have gotten another one in over some of the teams in these other conferences. The Big 12, along with the ACC, is going to have to show on the field for me that you belong here. Joe, we've made this argument. I'm not going to spend much time on it. Clemson went 0 for 3 against the SEC last year, and one of the teams that was on the outside looking in got clipped. They went into Clemson and beat them. Like, what are we doing? Like, the games on the field are not mattering if that's what we're doing. You get to a place in the Big 12, Joe, 2 years ago, Mississippi State went into Arizona and clipped them. Mississippi State was god-awful. God-awful. Now, you can say, well, Blake, Mississippi State lost to Toledo. Well, they still beat Arizona the year that Jeff Fish.
But they weren't. They weren't in the Pac-12 or in the Big 12 at the time.
I don't. It's slightly
stop you there.
It doesn't matter. The team you literally lost your 2 biggest teams in Texas and Oklahoma. You go and get Arizona, and the lowest team in the SEC is clipping a team that you want contending. Right? Like, I mean, that part doesn't matter to me at all. You get to a place where I liked Brett Yormark. I actually liked that he made the stance on the 5+11. But, Joe, this week, he's walking that back now. He's walking it back. Stand on your ground if you're going to stand on your ground. But, Joe, I'm getting very aggravated with some of these conferences acting like they're the Big Ten and the SEC. You're not. And if you want to be, Texas Tech is doing some of the things that you need to do to be there. The thing that I would say is, can you go in here and clip some of these teams before you start saying that we're the deepest? And listen, what else is he supposed to say? I understand that there's an argument of Joe. What else is he supposed to say? You don't have to say that, though. You don't have to say that you're the deepest conference in the country, because you're not.
Right. It to me is an unnecessary statement. And I also thought what was a really unnecessary statement by him was saying, I fully expect the Big 12 to earn multiple college football playoff bids this year and to show once again that we can compete with anyone.
You can.
I like how you brought up that the game against Texas for Arizona State has created ridiculous false hope.
Yes.
I think that game was really exciting, and it proved that a Big 12 team could show up and compete, but a singular outcome like that, where you still lost off of a brutal mistake at the end of the game, a singular outcome like that does not mean that your conference is trending in that direction. The Big 12 will be a one-bid league again this year. They have a bunch of ranked teams right now on a lot of preseason polls. How are we going to look at the teams that are in the mix at the current moment and believe that their top two teams are better than the top 2 teams in the ACC, who have Clemson, who's got a ridiculous roster, and Miami, who's gearing up with a super veteran quarterback, and all of the talent that runs through that conference, not to mention the fact that we can already expect that there are going to be 3, possibly 4 teams from the Big Ten and the SEC knocking on the door. It is so unlikely that this year that they're going to be a multi-bid conference.
Joe,
they're not going to be.
And that's when you get to the place of, why isn't Brett Yormark? And that's why we praised him for not doing the AQ model. Because in the AQ model, he would have at minimum gotten 2 in. So him going to 5-11, and now that he realizes that he made a mistake at Big 12 Media Days, has started to walk it back.
Wait, what was the walk back that he did? I didn't see.
He basically hinted at, in the 5-11 plus model, that he's open for at large, but he said he's worried about the politics of these bigger conferences getting other teams in because of money and not on merit. So basically saying that that the Big 12 would have merit and that the SEC and Big 10 would get in because of money. Well, no, they have the merit more than you do, right? Like South Carolina, Alabama, and Illinois, and whoever you want to throw in there last year had more merit than you did. Like he kind of tried to walk it back. At least that's how I felt, that he tried to walk it back a little. Joe, lastly for me with this Brett Yormark thing, I like that he's trying to do some things, but you know that uncle that is at we were talking about Thanksgiving earlier. You know that uncle that's always at Thanksgiving who's always got a new idea and a new invention and a new thing that he's doing? Like always, there's something new that's going on that he's business-wise he's trying to do. Every time I look up, I feel like Brett Yormark's trying to do something new that makes no sense. So what? So he came out today and said there's going to be no media polls, there's no coaches polls on where the teams are going to re-rank.
That was so dumb.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, but why? Like, I don't care for him. You know, like the SEC last year, I think there was like 7 votes for Vandy. Okay, all right. There's some jokesters in the group. Sounds good. But there also just comes a point in time where I say, bud, it's not that serious.
Well, to me, this is clearly a measure where you're trying to be like, we're so balanced that we don't want to have a list that's put out there. That's clearly what he's trying to do here. But why would you take that away? The discourse is what fuels the sport. The whole sport is fueled by the debates. This freaking show is built off of the discourse of debating, is this team better than that team?
Exactly.
Having a list produced by your conference, by the media members that represent the conference, is incredibly valuable. Why would you deprive the opportunity to talk? Instead, you know what we're doing right now? We're talking about his stupid statements that he made at the beginning of media days instead of reacting to the media poll that would have been put out. Those things are valuable.
Well, think about this. The first thing that I thought wasn't Arizona State picked like second to last to finish in the Big 12?
He probably doesn't want that again. He doesn't want that talking point, which is silly.
Well,
I would argue I would want that.
Ironically, the funny part about that, it would show that you were the deepest conference in the country.
Well, right. He probably doesn't want to have to deal with the everybody picked Utah to win it and they finished at the bottom. That's going to make us look stupid if that happens again. No, prove the point that Arizona State could climb from the bottom.
Well, go out there and say that it makes the media look dumb, not you. Like use it. Joe, let's just say the poll came out today, right? Okay, and you say, hey, just a reference to all the media people that were out there. This is what you said last year. Arizona State won the conference. And it would have gone to his point of, hey, man, I'm telling you, you don't know the conference like I do. Again, all right, I'm going to say this. Brett Yormark reminds me of a guy that was homeschooled as a kid. The awkwardness.
All right.
Hold on. The awkwardness of not knowing and reading the room. I feel like he regurgitates some things that he says and tries to make himself look cool, but it's not the time that he should have been doing it.
That's fair. I was gonna counter with I don't totally agree with it. You're right. It did feel like he read like a very scripted statement and he didn't really look into the outside narratives, arguments, and whatnot that are a part of all this. I think that like with this whole WWE partnership and the way that he kind of tries to build up this wrestling promotion and stuff, I would think that start beef with the media kind of jokingly would have been entertaining. I don't know. I think that it was
very WWE-ish.
Right. Yeah. To be like, oh, like this is their list, but it's wrong. Like I don't know what he would have framed it as, but that would have been a very entertaining, and it would have played to the narrative that he's trying to build.
Could you have imagined if you had, you know what I would have done with that partnership, by the way? I was going to tweet this today, but I didn't do it. What I would have done is call in my one favor and start off Big 12 Media Days and let Stone Cold Steve Austin hear the glass shatter, dum 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 dum, and I'm bringing Stone Cold Steve Austin in the middle of Big 12 Media Days. Do you know that would have been? You want to make if you want to make your conference fun again, okay? Yeah. Do something like that, Joe. It would have been the buzz of the entire offseason.
Oh, yeah.
Like nobody did what the Big 12 did. But again, they're taking these petty little shots that they have no business taking. And it takes people away from it. So, look, good for swinging for the fences. That's